SBC Media.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
The world of darts experienced a monumental shift over the Christmas period as the 2024 PDC World Championship drew in huge crowds, mainly down to the success of the then unknown 16-year-old Luke Littler. Taking the darts world by storm, Littler overcame all the odds to reach the darts world championship final, where he lost to pre-tournament favourite Luke Humphries. During the tournament, Prostate Cancer UK and the Professional Darts Corporation launched the Big 180 campaign in partnership with Flutter Entertainment's Paddy Power. And this will be the topic of today's episode of iGaming Daily, sponsored by SBC Summit Rio, where in the first half of the show, we'll look more into the campaign and a potential problem following Luke Littler's success. And then after the break, we'll talk about how darts can keep up the momentum, as well as BetMGM's future involvement. But first off, we are joined by Joe Streeter, editor of Casino Bees, and Jessie Sale, the senior journalist at SBC. And just for the audience's knowledge, Jessie is an avid darts player herself. So, kind of just from your perspective as a darts player, how did you find the success of this tournament in comparison to previous years?
I am, definitely a big darts fan, have been probably since I was little. But yeah, I've been playing since I was 18 as well. But so I've been watching it like every year at the Ali Pali. I actually went in December 2022, which is brilliant. So for me, it's just been great every year. But definitely this year has obviously been more like standout moments, more shocking narratives. Obviously, it like broke viewing records as well. I just think now, because of obviously like you got Luke Littler and other like shocking moments in the competition, I think more and more people, like both male and female, are now seeing how exceptional the sport really is. I mean, I took two of my friends, actually two female friends, to the pub to watch the final, and they've never like been interested in darts at all. They've never really watched it. Oh my god, they get into it so much. They were loving it. Lucy was so stressed. Liv was like on the edge of her seat. But yeah, I think more people are just seeing how fantastic it is.
Yeah, I think I remember my first ever darts tournament experience, and it was... I'm not a big darts fan. Wasn't before. I did get into the whole kind of narrative of this year's, or last year, should we say. But I think I remember my first one, and it was in Blackpool. I can't remember.
Winter Gardens.
Winter Gardens, that's the one, yeah. And me and my mates from a place where I used to work, we dressed up as the Walking Dead characters. I was Rick Grimes.
Brilliant.
One of my supervisors dressed as Herschel, the old farmer. It was hilarious. And... yeah, it was just such a good night, and the atmosphere in there is just electric. Even for like, again, a fan not like me, 4 pitcher pints, it's a good time.
I was a shark at the Premier League. I was a shark.
Can't skirt over your darting credentials too much as well, too quickly. What is your highest checkout? You let me know the other day in the office.
I did a 136 in a competition, so quite proud of that one.
Real credentials, a real CV.
Thanks, Joe.
Me and James could only aspire to that type of checkout.
I've actually got a competition next weekend, so hopefully I can hit a few. No, this weekend actually in Sheffield, so hopefully I can hit a few more checkouts like that.
And it's worth actually mentioning you did do a recent article with The Sun, didn't you, regarding your darting experience?
I did, yeah. Painted me as a bit of an alcoholic, so I just want to say I'm not. It did say I think about 10 pints, which I think maybe is an exaggeration. But yeah, it was just all about like girls in darts and stuff, because like when I joined like the uni team, I was always the only girl, and whenever I go to competitions it's very rare to like play against a girl, so it's just writing all about that and how it should be like encouraged for more girls to just go for it, even if like they're averaging like 20, it really doesn't matter. I just wanted like to let people know that it's good for even for the social side of it.
How much did we had Fallon Sherrick, is it?
Fallon Sherrick, yeah.
How much? I guess she helped as well, right? She really brought showed that girls can play darts too, and there's a crowd for it, and the whole community was very welcoming to her. They loved seeing her narrative, her story. So that really boosted it as well. That was 2 years ago, last year. She
was in this year's Ali Pali. She got knocked out quite early, didn't she? But yeah, she's quite well known, and like Lisa Ashton as well has done pretty well in the sport as females.
Perfect. Joe, I'd ask you what your experience was, but I don't really care about yours when we got Jessie. And we split this into two halves today, and the first half we're going to be talking, like I said, about Paddy Power's campaign or the sponsorship of it. So, Joe, I'll come to you on this one, actually. So how successful was Paddy Power's sponsorship of the PDC, and what went so well for the deal?
It was massive, right? And I don't think when brands, when operators or any brand really, they sponsor a tournament like this, I don't think, you're sort of guessing a little bit in terms of ROI when it comes to those narratives, as you both mentioned, and also those iconic moments. I think it brought to my attention this morning that, QBet sponsored, and this is a little bit left field, so forgive me, but it sort of relates, QBet sponsored Mr. Q, sponsored the Masters Snooker and ended up sponsoring Ding Junhui hitting a max break against Ronnie O'Sullivan, something that's never happened before. Now, that's obviously a very different example to what we're talking about, but it's something that when they partner with that brand, when they partner with that tournament, they don't know that that's coming. Mm-hmm. When Paddy Power sponsored the darts, when they partnered with the PDC World Championships, they know it's going to be plastered across pubs all over Christmas. It really is, as Jessie said, a staple of the Christmas sporting calendar. But they don't anticipate Luke Littler. They don't anticipate the surge that we've had, the casual audience that have been drawn in. As Jessie said, her two friends, my other half, my family are all watching darts and they're gripped by it. I've never seen my mum do so much quick maths over Christmas as she's trying to work out how to get from 170 down to 0. So, I don't think they could have anticipated it. But from a Paddy Power perspective, what they did really well is they build on these narratives. And I think darts as a sport does that quite well as well. When you listen to the commentators, it's fantastic. They big up the darts players so much. They really build them as if they're superheroes. And I think that helps Paddy Power. That helps them build the tournament. And the only other thing, I will mention is I think the two brands sort of align in terms of just being fun, being a little bit edgy, being a bit maverick. And that created some really fun activations.
Yeah, I think one of the kind of key things for me when I was watching the run through of this whole tournament, I wasn't as engaged as the whole nation was around it. I was obviously following it as a sports fan. But when I was watching football, and I think it was Friday Night Football, Jamie Carragher was on there, and they actually interrupted the halftime break to Luke Littler's playing now, and he's so close to winning. And I'm the fact it's overtaken a halftime kind of commentary of football. I know it's Sky Sports and they're linked, but to take over that kind of coverage of a halftime for this event just shown how big of an impact Luke Littler actually made to the event.
Well, you raise a really, really important point, to be honest with you, and it's something that I've seen watching boxing, over the past 3-4 years. Whichever promotional company can get that media rights deal with Sky Sports, as opposed to, the other broadcasters are fantastic. TNT Sports do a brilliant job. DAZN do a brilliant job. But that Sky Sports train is massive. Mm-hmm. If you can have Luke Littler on Sky Sports News, the Sky Sports News one is huge. You get that as part of a package. When you partner with Sky Sports, you get that. And it really just helps escalate engagement for the whole tournament, especially around Christmas, because you just put that stuff on, it's brilliant content. And interrupting Monday Night Football to go to the darts, it just really does add engagement. So, you raise a really good point about Sky and how much of an asset being partnered with Sky is to the tournament and to the growth of darts as a whole.
And you mentioned engagement there, and Jessie, when we spoke earlier, you mentioned about these kind of narratives, or what was the word you said? It was
more shocking narratives, standout moments.
So that was the one. So what about this tournament for you really saw it take off in terms of engagement? What were those standout moments?
I think obviously Luke Littler making his debut as a 16-year-old just from Runcorn, near Warrington. I think that shocked everyone.
Manchester United fan as well.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah. He's been meeting loads of football players now as well, hasn't he? I've seen. Obviously, that was a massive thing for everyone. I think obviously he does look a little bit older than his age as well. That got quite a lot of people's attention. So I think a lot of people wanted him to win. As well, and there was also him beating Van Barneveld, he's a 5-time world champion. Him beating him is unbelievable. It's fantastic on his first ever World Championship as well. And there was other standout moments as well, like Scott Williams beating Michael van Gerwen. Obviously, he's won it a few times as well. He's like one of the biggest, obviously, names in the sport. And you've got Rob Cross's comeback from Chris Dobie. I think that against Chris Dobie, he come back from 4-0 down. I think everyone watching that, you don't have to be into darts to like see that's so good. It's great to watch. But yeah, so I think it really. There's not a lot of other things that make it like take
on
off.
That Rob Cross comeback, though. I think, like a lot of people, there wasn't much on at the time. It was that weird period in between Christmas and New Year, right, where there wasn't much on. You sort of put it on in the background while you played charades or did whatever you did.
Did you play charades?
Played charades. I played a bit of charades. Yeah. I'm not averse to a bit of charades, but you sort of put it on in the background, and then you saw it was two players that I think, from a casual audience, they weren't massively invested in. But you saw him go 5-0 down, 4-0 down?
4-0
down.
Yeah.
And then you saw you slowly kept checking the score, and you saw him creeping back up. And the engagement of the casual audience, I know the people in my house anyway, it grew and grew and grew as the comeback edged closer. And by the time the momentum had shifted in Rob Cross's favour, we're all on the edge of our seats. Mm-hmm. We'd gone from not really watching this game and mapping out how to make the actions of Jaws to edge of our seats, all wholly invested in the darts. So yeah, that was a really big moment. And added to that one as well was we knew that he was going on to play, the winner was going on to play Luke Littler, right? So it really added an extra element of a narrative there. But that was a really big moment, I thought.
Exactly.
After this podcast is finished, I'm getting my phone out and you're going to reenact that Jaws charade. And it's going to go on LinkedIn and everything. But like, again, we've mentioned Luke Littler quite a bit, and I think it's kind of important to acknowledge his age a bit more. Certainly moving forward when it comes to sponsorship, certainly within the betting company, because darts is betting heavy. And even actually, considering he won £200,000, I think it was like 120,000 after tax or something. I think he got a big tax reduction. He even mentioned like he'll spend his money on FIFA points, which is another betting. It's another betting complication. I did, like, and I thought, I really want to get EA's thoughts on this. You're going to regulate that in any way? You're going to limit it? Certainly, the 16-year-old with that amount of money, it's a dream, and he's got to have a lot of icons and heroes in his team. But like, he's captured this imagination. But does this present our problem for the likes of Paddy Power or any other betting or gambling sponsor when it comes to actually sponsoring the sport? Because you've got this 16-year-old who's now, if you agree on it, he's the poster boy of darts at the moment. Because his face is known everywhere. Is that now a problem or a moral issue when it comes to sponsoring the darts?
I don't think so. When I watched his surge, I wondered, if there would be sort of any distancing from Paddy Power. Obviously, Luke Littler doesn't wear anything to promote Paddy Power. He doesn't himself promote Paddy Power. The tournament he's playing in is still, a Paddy Power tournament, and they still sort of are a part of that success because they're investing a lot of money into the sport off the back of, him and other players in the tournament hitting so many 180s. They're also donating £1 million to Prostate Cancer UK. Mm-hmm. So, there is that good PR there as well. And, the good causes there, the positive social impact. I don't think it does. I don't think it's any different, really, to a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old making their debut in the Sky Bet EFL. I was interested, though, like yourself, to see if it would affect the branding. And obviously, he doesn't wear anything. He doesn't promote Paddy Power, but the tournament is still the Paddy Power PDCs, and they are still sort of part of that success in a way.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and don't take this as the gospel truth, because I may well be wrong, but if you're 16 or 17, a player, and you've got a betting sponsor on the front of your shirt, if you play for a football team, any football team in England, maybe the sponsorship isn't on there. Again, I don't think that's the gospel truth, and we may need to just confirm that. But from my point of view, I think there's that moral kind of tug of war in a way where he's 16 years old. People can bet on him and it's illegal, obviously, for him to make any bets, and he's being sponsored as well by betting companies. There's just that moral ground where I don't know what's right and wrong, but I just can't take away from the success he's had, and I think it's a good problem for Paddy Power to have because of the success of the sport itself and how it's going to grow. And
going from 66 to 1 as well on odds.
Was that what it was?
It was 66 when he first entered the competition.
Was it?
Going from that to make it to the final, I think it's insane.
It is insane. And we're going to talk a bit about darts momentum moving forward into 2024 and beyond in the second half. But we're just going to take a quick ad break.
So, so if 16-year-old footballers can wear a club logo and a club betting partner on their shirt, I think.
Oh, can they?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Harvey Elliott made his debut at Fulham with a Dapper Bet logo when he was 16.
Okay,
so I think they can.
Yeah,
it
okay.
might be worth double checking that, but I think they can.
No, okay. I think I'm corrected there, so I'll take that back. But we're just going to take a quick ad break, and then when we get back, we're going to talk a bit more about the momentum of darts and also BetMGM's introduction to Darts Premier League.
Brazil, a global economic powerhouse, deeply passionate about sports, and now home to one of the hottest markets in gaming. And we're giving it the full SBC treatment. Join industry leaders, market experts, and all the major players in the country for 3 days of content, exhibition, and epic networking at the first ever SBC Summit Rio.
Okay, welcome back. Like I said, we're going to talk about darts' continued momentum moving forward after the success of the tournament. And Jessie, I'll just ask you plain and simple, how can darts continue its momentum moving forward into this year and also beyond?
I want to talk a little bit about obviously how before the tournament that Paddy Power got quite a lot of interest before as well. Obviously, Joe mentioned before the big 180 campaign. I think that was really, really clever. Obviously, they said that they were going to change the treble 20 to green, which I think that shocked everyone.
I thought that was actually real.
Yeah, a lot of people did. I was thinking surely not, because obviously it's been that way for 50 plus years out for the Ali Pali or whatever. So that just shocked everyone. And I think as well, because it could affect player performance as well. Obviously they're so used to trying to hit the red, would the green throw them? So I think that got quite a lot of people maybe a little bit angry or just shocked. And then obviously they revealed that it was for Prostate UK, so which was really nice. But I think they did that really, really well.
What you do get with the dart sponsorship, you do really get they walked out onto a green carpet. It really is. It really is just engulfed by the sponsorship is one that really takes centre stage. When it was, I think it was William Hill, it was Kazoo. You notice that those brand assets, and for Paddy Power, obviously they're a green company. The green of Paddy Power. Yeah. They get to really, put that onto the darts and make it front and centre. I think.
It was believable. They had Michael Van Gogh posing next to the board, the new green treble 20. They really went for it on the campaign.
How much money did they make from this campaign? Do we know?
They know that in £1 million.
It was because they hit 914 180s throughout the competition, which is record actually.
Is it?
Yeah, I think last year it was 901, which was the record, but I'm pretty sure it's the record. But they rounded it up to £1 million.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
In terms of the momentum, though, James, it's a really interesting point because you don't want this to be a flash in the pan tournament. You don't want it to, and obviously darts has always had a lot of has always had a lot of engagement, especially the PDCs at around Christmas time, as Jessie mentioned. But to continue that momentum, you've got to keep telling these narratives. You've got to keep telling these stories. I think it's an absolute golden touch, and it did draw a little bit of criticism, but an absolute golden touch. As long as he can handle the schedule to put Luke Littler in the Premier League, I think that's a massive,
definitely going to keep up the viewership.
A really positive move. And I think just keep telling the stories. Jessie mentioned that Littler didn't win. Everybody was rooting for him to win. How much a lot of people were tuning in to see him win. Well, him missing out in the final might be the best thing for darts because we're all going to watch next year to see if the 17-year-old can win, right? If he wins this year, you lose that a little bit. But next year, we're all tuning in again. I know my family will be tuning in again to see how far Luke Littler can get. And he's still probably about 10 years junior to all these other darts players, so it's hardly like... Yeah.
One of the things I would air caution onto is we have to keep reminding ourselves he's 16 years old. He's been added onto the is it the Premier League Tour now?
Yeah.
Which is, and I've read a few articles and saying it's a very lonely place for a 16-year-old.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot for him on this schedule. I think, my personal thing, I think it might be a bit too much for him too soon.
Yeah, everyone was quite shocked when that he was
I understand
chosen.
This idea of keeping up this momentum and keeping up this kind of engagement by using him, because his name now is big, but I think there's an obligation from everyone involved, from Sky Sports to the Darts Association themselves, and even to betting sponsors like Paddy Power and operators who will come and sponsor that tournament, not the player itself or himself. There's an obligation to look after him and make sure he's well looked after, he's nurtured, and he's protected.
Yeah. Maybe stop eating so many kebabs as well. Get him on a bit of a maybe needs to do veganuary.
The vapes. So you could tell he was very naive to interview when he said that. But
it all lent into this character, right? Like, he seemed naive, but it all lent into this character where he was really, really easy to get behind and to support, because
he spoke
was
well,
just
didn't he? He really did.
As much as he wasn't massively media trained or anything like that, I think that all lent into this really likeable guy that you wanted to root for.
I just think there's that protection element with him now.
Yeah, 100%.
I really think
with the heavy schedule.
Yeah, the big people involved do need to take that into consideration. But again, momentum keeps coming from the darts, because I believe it was earlier this week, it might have been yesterday even, Joe, you can correct me on this, BetMGM announced they were sponsors of the Darts Premier League. Can you just tell us a bit about that deal itself and what can be done to tap into the engagement from the PDC for BetMGM?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting one. You've sort of, you've nailed it down that BetMGM will be sponsoring the Premier League. The Premier League is something of a road show. They go on a tour. It's all the best players in the world. They go on a tour through the year. They're in Manchester in March or April.
I'll be there.
Jessie will be there.
Got my ticket.
She might be there playing next year as well if it carries on with this momentum.
That's the dream.
And it's a really good tournament. It hasn't quite drawn the engagement of the PDC World Championship, but this year, who knows? The viewership for the to bring it back to the PDC World Championship, but when we're talking about the momentum, it's important to know just how significant that was. It was the biggest non-football sporting event in terms of viewership on Sky. Now, the Premier League can tap into that. They really can if they keep telling these narratives, if they keep sort of building on these characters. And that's why I think it's so vital that Littler was in there, because it can keep boosting darts. It can keep growing the sport. And for BetMGM, it's a really interesting deal as well, because obviously they're recently entered to the UK market. So they've got a few football sponsorships, but this feels like one where they can use it as a platform to grow their audience upon entering the UK market, which is obviously a very challenging market for betting operators.
I was just going to touch on that to round off the podcast. So how big do you believe the Premier League dart sponsorship can be for BetMGM as it expands in the UK market? Because it has just really entered the market. It's still kind of new to the UK. How big of a deal is this for them?
Yeah, I think it's massive. I do think it's really big. And I think it's worth noting as well, darts as a betting product has really, evolved in recent years. And it's a really fun one. I'm not sure if anyone did any wagering on the PDCs, but it's a really fun one to bet on. And I think BetMGM can tap into that for sure. At the heart, though, is, telling the narratives, but they can tap into darts as a betting product. I think the Premier League has done a good job of evolving what it does and how it continues to engage fans, not just when the Premier League is in your town or when you're in the pub and the Premier League is on, but wanting to keep you engaged week by week. They have a nightly knockout tournament where they crown a nightly winner. Obviously, the whole thing builds towards an eventual Premier League winner, but they have a nightly tournament as well, and that creates another betting product altogether. You bet on overs on the 180s. I don't know if there's anything funner to bet on than that. You cheer along with the crowd. It really is a brilliant sport. And what we saw off the back of this year is we saw all these branches form, and now there are all these new narratives. Michael van Gerwen went out early this year Can he come back? What can he do? Luke Humphries is a newcomer to the scene a little bit as well. So, you know, can he continue to stay there? Has he got longevity? And obviously the Luke Littler one as well. But there were all these narratives this year that BetMGM can tap into and that the PDC and darts can tap into to continue the growth of the sport, I think.
Perfect. I think we've hit the bullseye on quite a few interesting stories. I know. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. The face you just poured then. And it's a cliche saying, but I think we could actually talk a bit more if we had enough time on some other issues. And we might even do a part 2 of this maybe next week or when it allows. But that's all we've got time for today. Jessie Sale, Joe Streeter, thank you for joining us on today's episode of iGaming Daily. The articles that you've got on Insider Sport and Casino Beats regarding the BetMGM stories and the success of the tournament, and SBC News, apologies. I'll leave the links in the description below. But apart from that, thank you, and you will hear us tomorrow.
SBC Media.